Hi, everyone. For my social justice issue that I chose to focus on, I chose LGBTQ issues that have happened in the past and that are still happening today. And throughout this art project, I talked about some of the positives that have happened for our community and some of the negatives that have happened or is still happening. So, for those of you who don't know, LGBTQ stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer individuals. This community also represents multiple gender identities or sexualities as well. For my art project, I did a replica of the gay pride flag, and beginning on the red strip, I talked about how on June 26, 2015, the U.S. Supreme Court legalized same sex marriage. As I said before, I'm going to talk about some of the negatives that are happening to the community as well. So when we go to the orange strip, um, it was a quote from Peter Sprigg, who is a senior advisor for the Family Research Council. And the quote is pretty much saying how he believes that the LGBT movement is a lie against the nature of humanity. It's a lie against how humans should actually behave. And he is a huge advocate for overturning the legalization of same sex marriage. I think it's also important to point out that he is an ordained Baptist minister, and the only reason I'm pointing this fact out is because there are still issues concerning LGBTQ in the church today. Um, I think we see that through some of the church's actions, and it's a conversation that needs to happen. So I'm glad that we're doing this project. But then moving on to the yellow strip of paper, I talked about the Stonewall riots. These riots were the riots that pretty much led to the gay liberation movement and the fight for LGBTQ individuals. This happened back in 1969, and I think it's also important to point out that it was led by transgender women, which moves us on to our green strip of paper. It was Transgender Awareness Week this past week, the 13th through the 19th. And during this week, it's just to raise visibility towards these individuals and um, their what they've done for our society, which is a lot. But then we move on to the blue sheet, which talks about the violence towards transgender and non-conforming people, which simply mean they don't conform to one gender. So within the first 7 months of 2020, the violence against transgender individuals actually broke records. 28 people were killed, thousands are attacked each a day, verbally or physically, simply because they identify as transgender. Um, but ending on a more positive note, the purple strip of paper talks about LGBTQ representation in the government. 574 LGBTQ individuals ran on general election ballots, and 220 of those individuals actually won. So overall, I just think it's important that we have an open heart when speaking about the LGBT community, and we truly get to know these individuals, especially within the church and especially on this campus.